Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. Christopher Media, let's make some noise. Welcome to Beer Nuts, a weekly excursion into the world of craft beer, brought to you by MichiganBeerGuide.com. And now, here are the Beer Nuts.
Beer Nuts number 89. Getting up there. My name is Chris. With me from MichiganBeerGuide.com is JR.
Hey there, Ray.
Mr. SAK with us once again.
Good evening. Good evening.
There we go. And Greg, back again.
Hello again.
All right. So this episode, kind of a Canadian theme, sort of. I mean, it's going to be all about maple beers. It's not exclusive to Canada, but I mean, when you say maple, a lot of people, you think Canada, you think like Vermont, like that's New England, things like that. So it should be fun. I don't, definitely not going to be drinking any, no light crisp beers tonight. That's my guess.
That's probably a pretty good educated guess there.
If you go dark and sweet, tonight's your night.
Yes, it is. And we do. I don't believe that of all the beers we have, it's disappointing that we didn't have the foresight to seek one out. But I don't believe we have any Canadian beers that have maple in them. So apologies to you Canucks out there. But we will dedicate the show to you with our quote of the week. So this week's quote is, Canada has two emblems, the beaver and the maple. And we love them both. Cash me outside. How about that?
All right.
So as we go into the show, we always like to invite everybody, all our listeners, please open up a beer if you have one. Don't drink and drive, but crack one open. Whatever you enjoy is fine with us. We're not pretentious. Whatever you enjoy drinking is fine with us. But if you got something with some maple in it, why not try it as you listen to this episode? If not, drink whatever the hell you like, because we might have a surprise at the end of the show, too. So, all right, that being said, I'm thirsty. How about you guys?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yummy.
Well, I'm going to be selfish and take the first beer here because I have two. So, the first beer I'm going to introduce, we got a little bit delayed start tonight, so SAK and I cracked this open a little earlier, but there's still plenty left. I think it's a 16.9 ounce bottle, 500 milliliter, and it's from Pollyanna Brewing in Lamont, Illinois, and it's called Fun Size Milk Stout, but it's the maple variant, so it's maple Fun Size Milk Stout. So I'm going to pour a little bit more in my glass and pour a little more in Steve's glass. And we did a nice job on this. It's almost gone already, but so I just poured it, and we have been drinking it already. So the first thing I can say is on my first sip earlier tonight, I said, wow, what a maple bomb. So when you, those of us that are home brewers, or those of you out there that are home brewers, will know that when you brew with maple, if you put the maple in too early, the maple will get fermented out because it's a sugar and it's fermentable, and it will be converted into alcohol and CO2 as the brewing process takes its toll, and you're left with no maple flavor. So what I believe Pollyanna has done with this one is added maple after the brew has completed to their regular fun-sized milk stout, their regular version, and because there's quite a bit of maple flavor in here, and if it was done early enough in the process, it would have fermented out. So enough homebrew dribble here. Let's get right down to business. It had a nice, healthy one-finger head. It has disappeared about 3/4 of it, but there's still a nice thin beige, like a beige tan color. Very nice looking head. Very well carbonated. The appearance of this beer, it's very dark brown. If you hold it up to the light, you can slightly see through it, but if you don't hold it up to the light, it looks just very dark. So it's dark, but it's not coal black. It's dark brown. So the nose is unmistakable maple, and predictably the overwhelming flavor in this is maple, which is a good thing because we're doing a show on maple beers, and I happen to love maple, so I'm going to take a sip. And oh man, it's really, really tasty. It's tasty. It's not overly sweet. You get that nice little bit of sweet maple, but there is some bitterness to it to balance it out. I'm going to read the label here just it says, "You're not you when you're thirsty, so satisfy that craving with this fun-sized treat. Fun-sized milk stout, maple. Milk stout with maple, peanut, and chocolate flavor, cocoa nib, vanilla bean, and sea salt." Now, SAK, we're talking earlier. When I let this linger on my palate for 5 to 10 seconds, I can taste a little bit of salt on the very end, but SAK didn't really notice that. But it's not overwhelming. It's just very subtle. But as you all know, I have an aversion to peanut butter beers, and there is peanut in this, but it does not affect the mouthfeel adversely, which is my biggest objection to anything with peanut butter. So there's not enough in there that bothers me. If anything, it probably enhances this whole flavor profile. So I believe that the base beer always has those ingredients, and the maple was added to this. And the reason I believe that is because I went to the website of the brewery, and it says, "Already a fun-sized treat, we added dollops of maple syrup to our milk stout with peanut, vanilla bean, cocoa nib, and sea salt, like Grandma's Sunday morning pancakes." And it is delicious, and it does remind me of pancakes, and I'm really enjoying it. What do you think, Steve?
Well, my initial impression, like yours, was being hit over the head with maple. But after that initial burst of maple, there's definitely that peanut butter feel, taste. It's not oily like some peanut butter stouts are. And then I can taste the bitterness from the chocolate. I think it's pretty well balanced, actually. I mean, there's a lot going on there between vanilla, cocoa, chocolate, maple, stout. It's not super thick on the mouthfeel, but it is very pleasurable. It's good.
I would agree, and I had never heard of this brewery, Pollyanna. I had friends that visited the Chicago area and picked this up for me, so I do appreciate that, and I think it's a great beer to kick off the Maple show, and I'm going to finish this up and let somebody else. I'm pretty sure no one here has tried that. Can you confirm that, guys?
You're correct.
Yeah, for sure. No.
So nice job, Pollyanna. I'll be looking for more of your stuff in the future because this is a winner. So I think we're going to head over to Chris now. Chris, are you on the East or West Coast this week?
I'm in Detroit.
Okay, good. Well, you got a local beer for us. Why don't you tell us all about it?
Yeah, local to Detroit. So, local to Detroit beer from Roke Brewing. I guess you guys did this one on the Nut Show, but I wasn't on the Nut Show, so there. So, but also it fits the theme for tonight. Chestnut Head from Roke Brewing. Their chestnut maple porter. Reading the bottle, it says Chestnut Head was inspired by our mad love of Michigan winters. Brewed with roasted chestnuts and maple syrup straight out of the Michigan woods, it will be sure to keep you warm. This porter, with its sweet maple aroma and lingering nutty finish, is best paired with a crackling fire and good friends. So crack up when All right. I drank a head. I mean, and they're right. I mean, it's real sweet. I wouldn't say it's overpowering as far as the maple on the nose here, but really sweet smell. And as far as the lacing goes, I mean, it's pretty standard for a porter. I mean, the same thing with the mouthfeel. Kind of right in the middle. And then that maple, at least to me, comes right in, right at the end there when you're swallowing it. As it's going down over the back of your throat. I mean, and I like to say for a lot of beers, for me, if it's as advertised, then it's a winner. I mean, in this, I didn't read the bottle before I read it on the air, but I could say that pretty much sums it up. I mean, there's some snow coming tomorrow. Unfortunately, this is only one part of a variety pack. Wish I would have had more, but I think it'll be all right. So yeah, Chestnut Head from Roke Brewing, who apparently made a few appearances the last few shows. These guys apparently are coming up in the area, showing up more and more places that I go.
Yeah, we had Blow Your Face Out last week. Their double IPA. Alrighty. Anybody else? Any comments? We had this a couple shows ago. Chris wasn't with us, so he gets a pass. He didn't know, but it's okay. It fits in with the theme, and hey, it's right down the road. So pick this up, local Detroit people, and if you're not from Michigan, find somebody who is and tell them to send you one in the mail. Legally, of course.
Yes.
Exactly.
Which it really isn't possible, but don't ask, don't tell.
I have a question. As we go through the beers tonight, is it possible to have maple without it being sweet? I mean, I know things like chocolate can be either sweet or bitter or bittersweet. Vanilla can be in a beer without sweetness, and a lot of other flavors can too. Certainly coffee, but is it possible to have maple without the underlying or the actually very forward sweetness associated with it? I don't know the answer to it. I don't think I've ever had something that was maple that was not also sweet.
Now, I think is it really possible? It's sweet by its nature. I mean, chocolates you can get a chocolate. People always say, if you're baking chocolate, it's super bitter. But syrup is maple syrup, right?
But I have to think that at some point, the actual sugar sweetness is got to be isolated. If you could isolate the maple aroma / flavor away from the actual sugar that caused this, that caused the sweetness, I'm just wondering if it was possible, and what it would taste like.
I mean, I'm sure we've all had. There's maple whiskeys out there. I mean, and the bitterness of the whiskey kind of cuts the sweetness, but it's like, it's still like shooting a pancake.
I'm reading a little bit about a homebrew article on brewing with maple, and I don't really have a whole lot of time to dissect the whole article and answer your question thoroughly, but I did just pick up a tidbit about you can replace your brewing water with regular maple sap, which could obtain directly from the producer. If you have a maple tree, you can harvest the sap yourself using a spigot and a bucket. The gravity value of regular sap can range between 1.003 to 1.007, which is just a little bit above water. Water is 1.000. So that might be somewhere. I believe all that stuff would probably ferment out, but I'd have to think there would be something left, even if you ferment the maple. So I think probably the answer to your question is if you add it early enough, you could probably vary when you add it and how much active yeast is still left, because if you add it when there's still active yeast, it's just going to ferment it out and you're not going to get that much maple. But maybe if you adjusted that timing, you could probably eliminate a lot of that sweetness, because the yeast eats the sugar, not necessarily everything in that maple sap. So I don't know. I'm trying to answer a question on very little time to research, but go to byo.com, that's brewyourown.com, and there's a article called Brewing Maple Beer at Home if you want to follow up on that, and I'm sure that it'll tell you a little bit more about it. It even says when to add and how to get the maple flavor in, and I'm pretty sure that you have to back sweeten it, which is what they did with this milk stout that I tasted. They added it at the end, but if you adjust when it's added, I think that can vary how much maple you get into it, and probably earlier you add it, the less sugar and the less sweet maple flavor you will get. So hopefully that it provides some kind of an answer, or perhaps confuses you more, but that's all I have to say about that. Cash me outside about that. All right, I'm overusing that one tonight. All right, well, thanks for sharing that one. That was Greg, I think you have something from Tennessee for us.
Yes, sir. I picked this up in a trade with the buddy down in Nashville. It's called, the brewery is Bearded Iris. The beer is a 9.6 Imperial Oatmeal Stout with vanilla, maple syrup, and lactose. I poured it out just a little while ago, just to let it warm up a little bit. The head poured like a half a finger of a khaki cola-looking head. It has some nice glass lacing. Of course, the head disappeared real quickly, being a 9.6%. The smell on this is straight maple syrup with a little vanilla sweetness, like a light chocolate on there. The taste here, let me get another taste. Much the same as the smell, but except this time you get a little bit of coffee, like almost like a coffee bitterness, so like a medium roast, like coffee. Great sweetness, light chocolate, vanilla. That maple is there present as it should be. This beer was brewed in honor of the brewer's love for the Waffle House, which I don't even think we have one here in Michigan, but I know the closest one that I know of is Ohio.
Yeah, you gotta head south on 75. None in the mitten.
Yeah, well, that's a shame too. But these guys profess their love on Twitter, saying that they wouldn't have made it through many late brews without those hash browns that they make. So they had much love for Waffle House. The can was it's a 16-ounce regular old silver can with a wraparound wrapper. It was kind of interesting. The label itself had a peel away sticker. The sticker, just a plain old black sticker with white lettering that said Waffle Talk. But once you pull it back, it has the lettering that's similar to what you see at the Waffle House. So, asking the guy I traded with, he believes that there possibly was a cease and what's the term? The cease and assist or resist or something like that, and thinking that Waffle House didn't appreciate using their logo on their beer. So, but at least they had a little peel away sticker.
Cease and desist. Cease and desist.
See, there you go. Learn something new
from our legal expert.
Okay, there you go. So, a little interesting thing about the can. That's something that caught my eye there. But excellent beer. I love this a lot. Of course, I love any stouts that have some kind of maple syrup in it. So, this is a fantastic offering. I'm glad I picked this up in a trade, and hopefully can pick up some more down the road.
I visited this brewery over the summer, and everything they make is just fantastic. They're very well known for their hazy, juicy IPAs, but glad to hear that they're doing some good dark stuff too. I haven't had a whole lot other than when I was at the brewery. I tried pretty much everything they had available, and there was nothing that I didn't care for. So a really, really favorite brewery of mine. Kind of jealous I didn't get to taste that with you. I'm sure it's sounds like another winner from those guys. Bearded Iris, Nashville. Go to Nashville, look these guys up.
Can't go wrong, man. I'll tell you what, their mood, I know it's not the top of today, but their mood ring with raspberries was one of the best raspberry flavor. I think, John, you said you're not a big raspberry person, but for me, it was a raspberry lactose, like a milkshake IPA. It was phenomenal. So. Oh,
no, I could be interested in that.
Oh, you could? Okay. All right.
No.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So good things coming out of Nashville, other than country music.
Absolutely. Bearded Iris. Love the brewery.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, we're going to come back from Tennessee, back north up to Michigan, to Sawyer, Michigan, isn't it?
Sawyer, Michigan.
Have SAK is going to introduce us to our next treasure here.
We are drinking Doomslayer from Greenbush Brewery in Sawyer. This is a brown ale brewed with maple sap, and the maple shall make you happy, the label says. Like all of Greenbush's beers, it's very high ABV. This one's clocking at 8.5%. It pours very, very brown, very dark brown, similar to the last beer that we sampled down here at JR's. Head dissipates pretty quickly, but it's still there. Now, I'd asked the question earlier about, can maple exist without sweetness? And compared to the first beer that John and I were drinking, this is not nearly as sweet. I would say it definitely has a maple flavor, a little bit more toasty, but this one has almost like, to me, an earthy flavor, like it came right out of the tree, the maple, as opposed to coming out of the Mrs. Butterworth's bottle. So this, it's very nicely balanced. It is not maple over the head, though.
Well, I agree. And you mentioned that it was brewed with the sap. It's very ironic because I had no idea when I read that passage from the Brew Your Own article. But that's exactly kind of where you were going with that commercial. It all came together. The conversation we just had, because this is definitely maple, but it is not the sweet Mrs. Butterworth's maple or Aunt Jemima maple, whatever, log cabin maple. It's more like a natural maple without all that sweetness. So it's definitely boozier than any of the other beers I guess just the one other one we had tonight. It's stronger. Not really a alcohol burn type, but you can notice the higher alcohol content. But I definitely get some hop bitterness out of this. There's some hop bitterness noticeable, and it's a brown ale, so it's a different style altogether. There's sweetness, but it's not maple sweetness. It's more like brown ale has a little bit nuttiness to it, a nuttiness and just slightly sweet. It's a really enjoyable beer, and I think I could drink more than one of these, whereas that first one I had would be challenging to drink because it was a little bit, on a much sweeter scale. So yeah, it's a good one. I've had this one before. I haven't had this in a couple of years, so it's good to revisit it.
They have a very nice bourbon barrel aged version of this that it is very yummy as well. I know that Andrea Stevens likes this beer, and I made a mistake one night of giving away our last one to a trick-or-treater, and when she got back and saw the empty, I had to make sure to procure additionals from somebody who lived out near Sawyer and the Greenbush Brewery.
Yeah, when you say trick-or-treater, I'm assuming it's a parent.
It was a parent. You were there, John. You shared it with me.
I know, it just didn't sound very good on the broadcast.
Oh, yes. It was a trick-or-treater's parent.
Kids like, hey, I'm going to Steve's house.
Most popular house in the neighborhood, for sure. But that being said, I was there that night, and it is a popular house because the parents always love to come by because there's usually a few libations available to friends. So, but yeah, this is another good one. I actually went to the Greenbush website, and it says they're working on a new website, so there's nothing available. So I'm just looking at a couple of reviews on Rate Beer, and here's one that pretty much hits it right on the head. Reddish brown, light tan head, vanilla, molasses, caramel, hay. I don't know about hay. Some light spice, quite sweet. Some light spice and bitterness. Medium heavy, some acidity, not a ton of carbonation. Longer finish, quite good. Kind of agree with that. I'd take the hay out of that review, but the caramel and molasses certainly in there. And it does say light spice and bitterness. I'd agree with that part of it, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of better idea. So if you see this one on shelves, those of you in Michigan, and it probably makes its way into the Chicago market because it's out there near the Chicago, Illinois, Indiana borders. So yeah, Greenbush does good things. I know whenever we go to the beer festivals, Greenbush always has one of the longest lines because they always do, and their barrel-aged stuff is really, really good. So the barrel-aged Doomslayer, I also recall being a big hit. So now that we've each had introduced a beer, we're going to step aside and talk about a little bit of beer news with our new segment, the Hipster Tipster. And we were just talking about the Michigan Brewers Guild Beer Festival always has long lines at Greenbush. Well, last weekend was scheduled to take place in Grand Rapids at the ballpark that, what's the team name out there? The
Whitecaps.
Yeah, and the Whitecaps Stadium, I believe, is right on the Grand River. And with all the melting snow and rains we've had recently, the threat of flooding was very great, and I believe it actually did flood up over the riverbank and near the stadium. And because of the safety repercussions, the Brewers Guild, to be caught, in the name of caution, postponed the beer festival until this weekend, March 2nd and 3rd. So it will now be rescheduled for Friday the 2nd and Saturday the 3rd, which a lot of people were up in arms about, but, hey, safety first. And I think they made the right call. I believe on Saturday, the river, there was some flooding in that area. So it would have been a logistical nightmare with vehicles coming in and out. And so anyway, just wanted to mention that. So, hey, by the time this episode's released, the festival will have already been completed, but just wanted to mention that. It was big news. Fortunately, the guild offered to refund anybody that had plans that couldn't change them, and a lot of people were stuck in Grand Rapids with reservations, flights, and traveled a long way for the festival. So all the breweries out in Grand Rapids rallied around that and had all kinds of special tappings and discounts for the beer fans who were coming in for the festival and weren't able to attend because it was postponed. So I think they did a really nice job of making the best out of a bad situation and rolled out the red carpet for those who were. It wouldn't be the most horrible thing in the world to be trapped in Grand Rapids for a weekend and with the festival canceled, and you just have to go to all those breweries and be welcomed there in Beer City, USA. So tough thing for the Brewers Guild, tough decision. No matter what you do, there are going to be some people that question your decision, but I feel they did the right thing, and everybody is safe. And hey, those that couldn't make it had a good time in Grand Rapids last week, and it probably opened up the door for some other people that might not have been able to attend to make it this weekend. So another article in the news really doesn't affect beer drinkers as much, but it's kind of related to our recycling here in Michigan, and I'm going to let Greg talk a little bit about that article.
Yeah, John, you posted this you retweeted this on Twitter today about a state representative here in our great state of Michigan about expanding our 10-cent recycling program, or for right now, if anybody's a fan of Seinfeld, you know that we have 10-cent returns for our pop or soda or Coke or whatever you want to call the bottles and cans that you get. So the senator is wanting to pass a bill that would include water and juice bottles. And that's an interesting thought. And I guess the 10 cents was started back in, I believe I read 1976. So it's as old as I am, and it was basically started to really take out trash or littering that was happening alongside our roads and highways and alleviate that problem. So unfortunately, though, due to the 10 cents, I guess the rate of our recycling here in the state of Michigan compared to the rest of the Great Lakes is considerably less. So here in Michigan it's 15% compared to 35% of other Great Lakes states. So it's a strange proposal. I don't know that really our grocers, our grocery stores such as Kroger, Meijer, all them could handle any more recycling than they already, because it seems like a lot of times you go there and say that they have 5 machines for plastic bottles. A lot of times one or two of them are only open because the other ones are packed to the gills and
or out of order. And it takes forever to find somebody to come and
try to reset it or whatever. But it certainly is an interesting proposal, and I don't know if it'll pass, but really, reading in this article, I really hope that our legislature, gets recycling more accepted in the state. We need to do our part, and certainly keeping the plastics and all that out of our environment, out of our waters, is certainly a good thing to do. So we'll see what happens, I guess.
Couple things I'd like to mention. When I first moved here from Nevada in 2012, I went to the store and I was surprised. They said anything fizzy is deposit. So you can buy cider. Cider, I don't believe there's a deposit on a cider container.
No.
Juice, anything non-carbonated, there isn't. Lemonade, you get like a Mike's Lemonade. That doesn't count. But yet soda and beer are all deposit items. So it's already complicated. Like you should either do all or nothing. Secondly, the 10-cent thing, all that does is, and it is effective in this, it does retard littering, because anybody that litters those things, they're a dime returning. Homeless people can go up and down the street and collect them and take them and get a couple dollars for it. So, civic groups, whoever it may be, anybody that's looking to raise any extra funds. So it does achieve that, but I was really surprised when I read this article to learn that we're only at 15%. Neighboring states don't have the dime, and they're doing much better than we are. So what are we doing here? So I hope it gets defeated. I actually had heard a rumor a month or so ago through the beer people I know that there was a movement to do away completely with the deposit. And one thing that was in this article is by far the most unsanitary area of any grocery store is
for sure.
the deposits, because you got soda containers with still a little bit left in the can, and then that stuff drips all over the place. Anybody that's ever returned these into the machines knows what I'm talking about. And then you put them in a plastic bag, and at the end of the plastic bag, there's like all this sticky gunk at the bottom, and mold might be growing, and that's all in the back room at these grocery stores. So I think it is a burden on the stores. You have to invest thousands of dollars in those machines. I'd like to see it eliminated. I know I lived in Nevada. There was no deposit there. So now when I buy something, I'm like, wow, if I buy a 24-pack of that, I'm got $2.40 out.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I just want to bring it up. It may or may not pass, or may affect us as beer drinkers. I hope maybe that raises the whole issue, and people realize that maybe we can get rid of this thing and not have it be such a burden. But just one last.
Still on the bright side, there's nothing better to take a big bag or a box full of cans or bottles and come out of there with like a $3 or $4 bottle receipt to go grocery shopping. you get a little bit off your groceries, but that's nice. But maybe if they could dial it back, or to 5 cents or something, maybe that'd be better.
I know that when we have a bottle share at my house, my boys are confused the next day because half the bottles will go in recycling and half will go in the returnables. And my kids basically save the returnables, and that is like candy money or movie money for them. And I constantly have to explain to them, nope, those ones just get thrown out. I mean, they've grown up in a state where throwing out bottles, glass bottles especially, is forbidden.
Well, and ironically, based on what this article says, when you throw those bottles in your recycle, because they don't have a Michigan 10 cents on it, they're probably more likely to end up recycled than the ones you return for your dime. So that's another issue. So one more quick thing here. If you go to Michigan Beer Guy, my Twitter account, go to the pinned post. There's the tabs on the top of your soda cans or beer cans. Please save those and send them to Freddie, the Pizza Man. All the information's at the pinned post at the top of them at Michigan Beer Guy on Twitter. He's raising funds for a local autism campaign, and we can really help him out. I actually take all those cans that you're talking about, I put them in a bag, and when it's full, I take them to him, and he crushes them and takes them and gets the money for recycling the aluminum, and he donates all those funds from the pull tabs and from those cans to his autism charity. So, hey, anybody can do this. You can mail it to his shop. You can mail it to me. Direct message me on Twitter. Anybody listening that's willing to save your tabs, it's a small thing you can do to help a good cause. So there's my shameless plug for Freddie the Pizza Man, but he does great things, and his hashtag
he hit me
is
up.
Pop That Tab.
I got to get back with Freddie. Freddie sent me a message on Facebook.
Yeah, you should.
I didn't forget about you, Freddie.
Good.
He does a lot of podcasts too, a lot of sports related podcasts. He might be a good special guest for one of your other podcasts.
Yeah.
So one last thing before we move on. We're all big fans of Founders Brewing Company. And Founders just came out this week with a brand new release of a lager called Solid Gold Premium Lager. It's 4.4% ABV, 20 IBU. It's going to be a year-round offering. I believe it comes in draft 6-packs or 15-pack cans. And there's a little description here. Our brewery was built on an attitude of no regrets, an attitude of taking risks to bring the best beer possible to our fellow renegades and rebels. Never brewing to style, but always brewing what we want to drink. Our take on a classic, Solid Gold is a drinkable premium lager brewed with the highest quality ingredients. Challenging what a lager can be, that's something we won't regret. So I have not tried this yet, but also like to let you know that on Twitter, my local beer store that I shop at is Discount Drinks, and they are offering until St. Patrick's Day $11.99 15-packs. So it sounds like going to be a crushable, sessionable lager that will probably blow away your domestic. I'm sure there will be a lot more better ingredients and a lot more flavor in this, but we'll reserve judgment. I'm going to try one and try it out. So lager lovers, look out for this. It's going to be very attractively priced. And another winner from them. And one last thing, I believe next week is KBS starts to flow around these parts.
Yeah.
So I am going to the Detroit Tap Room next week. I am a Mug Club member, and I've already purchased an allotment of the coveted Kentucky Breakfast Stout. So looking forward to going to the Detroit Tap Room and picking my KBS up. By this time next week, I'll have it. So, all right. So I think we've covered enough for Founders. You're welcome for the shameless plugs, but we love your beer. Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. So I guess the Hipster Tipster is over with, and it's now time to. We have one more beer, and then we have a surprise for the end that fits in with our theme tonight, courtesy of SAK. So everybody, I'm going to finish this last sip of Doomslayer off and go into our next beer, which I can't wait to drink it because I know it's fantastic. I haven't had it in a long time. And it's called Mikkeller Beer Geek Vanilla Maple Shake. Oatmeal stout brewed with coffee, vanilla, and maple syrup. It's a whopper at 13%, and it's a product of Norway. How about that? All the gold medals they won, maybe this will be a gold medal winner. So here we go. All right, wow, look at that. There you go. Wow. Okay. This has we usually say that khaki head, cola head. This is a dark brown head. And it's really dark. I mean, like black dark. So, very healthy. One finger head. It's dissipating, but not completely. 13%. I'm surprised there's any head at all, but it's pretty healthy carbonation. Definitely smelling some maple on this. That's about all I smell. You get anything else on the nose?
Just maple.
Yep, it's all maple, so let's taste it. Wow. I'm going to taste it again. It's got a very smooth mouthfeel from the oatmeal, but it's a lot more bitterness than sweet. So you got the maple, but you got the bitterness. It's really got a unique flavor, and I mean that in a good way. It's just very difficult to describe. Maybe you can help me out on this. Maple, bitterness, maybe a little bit of molasses, but not the sweet molasses.
Well, it's so dark you would expect just a lot of roast, and maybe some bitterness from that. Is there chocolate in here? I don't think there was, but boy, coffee would obviously would explain the bitterness. I think that would probably balance out any sweetness. The vanilla, certainly augments any of the sweetness. Vanilla and maple, kind of an unusual duo. Although they work together, but this is, it's like a motor oil pour. Dark. Very, very smooth. These flavors blend together beautifully.
Yeah, I'm almost getting a little licorice in here, too. Licorice, molasses. The coffee is starting to really hit me a little bit. It's like I guess the reason I had such a hard time with it is because it really does meld into one unique flavor that's hard to explain. I tell you that we mentioned all those different flavors of vanilla and coffee, but it blends with the maple to make one consistent flavor. It's not like anything jumps out, other than the aroma was clearly maple. But a lot going on here. The coffee bitterness, that's where the bitterness is coming from. I don't think it's from hops. I'm not sure what the SRM is on this. I don't see anything that says what it is, but man, I don't. It doesn't taste overly boozy with that 13%. I'm sure it's warming me up, though. I can tell you that. I wish you guys could try this. This is really good, and it's a sipper for sure. It's that oatmeal. I love that oatmeal. How it gives you that nice full bodied mouthfeel. It's just like smooth as silk on your tongue, but it's almost a beer you can chew. Delightful.
You said SRM, JR? What does that mean?
SRM is the color. It's a color wheel of beer.
Oh, okay.
I should remember what the acronym stands for, but I can't.
I just looked it up. Standard Reference Method.
There you go.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, a low SRM is like 20, I think one of them was tonight. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that tonight. We're not going to go into review terms, but really dark, roasty coffee, maple. It's a breakfast in a bottle.
Nice.
This is a very revered bottle. I mean, it's a 12-ounce bottle. I have no idea what it was. It was probably like $12, $15. It's not a cheap, but it's an import. I was surprised that it's brewed in Norway because Mikkeller's out of Copenhagen, Denmark, but it had it on the cap. It's brewed in Norway, and hey, Norway gets another gold medal after dominating the Olympics. So I can tell you that if I lived in Norway, I'd probably want to drink one of these every night. Keep you warm.
Who was that cross-country skier that took the wrong turn, though? Was she from Norway?
I don't know. Maybe she had a couple of these.
Yeah, perhaps.
But Mikkeller, Beer Geek, Vanilla Maple Shake. I believe I actually had a barrel aged one of these like 6 months ago. I remember I got it and I couldn't wait. I drank it and I remember it was unbelievably good. And this isn't far behind. This is a real treat. So
it is, John. Thank you.
Oh yeah, you're welcome, man. I'm glad I'm sharing it with you. This would be one and done if it was all by myself. All right, well, we have one more surprise. I'm going to let Steve. He's brought something special here for the occasion. I'll let him take the reins from here.
I know it's technically not a beer, but it was brewed. This is a mead from Kuhnen. This is the bourbon-barreled French toast mead.
Ooh,
and since my
awesome.
wife is sensitive/allergic to nuts, this does have pecans in it, I believe. Anything else? Maybe almonds. And so she, as much as we've heard great things about this, she is avoiding it, and so sent it over for John and I to sample. I've never had it. John, have you ever tried this before?
I believe I went to the last release of this about a year ago. I think it was last March. And it's kind of a coincidence that you bring this up because we're planning a March Meadness episode. That's Kuhnen has a March Meadness. I think every Saturday or Sunday they release a couple meads throughout the month of March to coincide with the March Madness. And so I'm not trying to steal their term. We were actually thinking of trying to go to Kuhnen one of these weekends, a couple of the beer nuts, and try to get together and have an episode about mead. There will definitely have to be Ubers involved or designated drivers because mead is traditionally fairly strong, usually around 12 to 14%. But so that's coming soon to a Beer Nuts episode to be determined. But I was at the release of this. I'm willing to bet that it probably tastes much different now after a year of aging, but it was pretty darn good when I had it a year ago. So let's see what it's all about. I'll let Steve kick it off.
Well, just reading the description, it's a wildflower mead. aged in bourbon barrels, and then back flavored with bananas, hazelnuts, maple syrup, and spices.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness.
It is a 14% ABV. On the nose, I smell a lot of cinnamon, perhaps nutmeg. Wow, it is it's a fruity, spicy, sweet bomb. It really is. As with many meads, it doesn't have some of the bitterness that I associate, or almost like a medicinal flavor that some meads have. This is very, very sweet, but a lot of spice with it, but it blends together very nicely as a good slice of French toast would. John?
Yeah, this is a real treat. Obviously mead's made with honey, so it's sweet, but I can taste bourbon. It almost, when it first hits my palate, it almost reminds me of a bourbon and ginger. But the ginger ale, it's certainly not ginger. It's more nutmeg, cinnamon, like you said, and then the other flavors start to roll out, and I'm definitely getting some vanilla in it. The bourbon's there. It's delightful. It's French toast. You think cinnamon? I guess a little vanilla probably.
Powdered sugar.
Yep. It's got that sweetness that you would have if you put some maple syrup in it. I guess maple would be the only thing that's kind of missing from here, even though it's French toast. Is there maple in it?
Apparently, according to the description, there is.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, I have no complaints. It's a fantastic drinker.
I'm sorry, John, but I don't taste any maple. We have to pour this back in the bottle and recap it.
Oh, no, we're not. It's too late for that. We're going to have to finish it. Let me see if I can find something. Okay. This is funny. I found an article from 2013. Kunin Bourbon Barrel French Toast Mead, like making out with an escort in an IHOP. So, decadent treat.
Or a Waffle House.
Even better.
Wow.
And that's what Tiger Woods does, doesn't he? Isn't that where he met some of his ladies?
Oh, that's forgot about that.
Lindsey Vonn. Lindsey Vonn said she didn't get lucky during the Olympics. I guess Tiger didn't make the trip, huh?
Nope.
I think she's through with him anyway.
He's too busy trying to make his 9th comeback.
All right. I seem to be at a loss for words for tonight for reviewing stuff, but I found a review from Beer and Brewing Magazine on this. This still mead is made with wildflower honey, a special blend of spices, golden color, medium sweetness and body, a spiced aroma with some bourbon character in the finish. Pretty accurate. Nice honey up front with apples, some cinnamon, vanilla, spice, and a bit of alcohol warming, like brandy apple pie. Bready, crackery, sugary, spiced vanilla cookie over moderately perfumey alcohol. I definitely got that perfumey sensation from it. And that's a compliment, not a knock on it. Big bourbon character with vanilla and molasses. Maybe the molasses is a reach, but everything else is pretty spot on. Actually, it is a maple episode. That would be the one flavor that kind of eludes me when I taste this, but that's okay because it says it's brewed with it. We'll trust it. Maybe it all got fermented out. Who knows? Or maybe it's just overshadowed by all these other great flavors. But I would just tell anybody that could possibly ever have a chance to taste this, whether they're at a share or you get a chance to go by. Chris, you live pretty close to the second Kunin location. You should be zeroing in on this. I'll give you a heads up when it comes out because it's delicious.
It sounds delicious.
They say that less is more, but not in this instance. I mean, it is more is more. It is basically everything is. It's not overpowering, but it's all very, very upfront, very, very strong, but it all works together very nicely.
I would agree. I really liked that adjective of a perfumey because it almost has like a fragrance to it that just tickles your tongue and makes you want more.
I think that's the nutmeg or is it nutmeg or ginger or cinnamon? I mean, whatever it is, it's one of those kind of rooty, spices that you would associate with, a pie or a pancake.
I agree strongly. Definitely leaves you a little bit of tingly on the tongue, just a little zest there from those spices, and a lot of beers and stuff that we have with spices, sometimes the spices are repulsive or maybe too strong, and here it's just the perfect amount. I mean, the perfect amount. Any more would be too much. Any less would be not enough. It's at its peak. They do a nice job. Coonan. Say what you will about Coonan being Coonan. For all their faults, they make unbelievably great beers and meads and wines, for that matter. They have some lovely dessert wines too. So
I had a couple of nice ice wines from them, and it's funny because some of their stuff is just very bland, and then out of nowhere they'll come up with this phenomenal mead.
Well, this is certainly one of their home runs, and I'll be looking forward again this year. Well, we got a little bit left to finish here after we go off the air, so anybody else have any final comments? Because I think that we've run the gamut here. Any other comments on anything, guys?
I mean,
closing comments?
It's a good thing we're getting this in at the end of winter. Sooner or later, it's going to be time to put these dark beers away.
It's never time to put dark beers away.
No, I agree.
You guys know what I mean.
Well,
true.
It's always sunny in Philadelphia, and it's always stout season on Grosse Ile, where S and I live. It's year-round stout season here. I will have an imperial stout in July with S. Trust me.
That's what
it'll be huge. It'll be huge.
Huge.
Speaking of huge, this is episode 89. It won't be too long till we hit the century mark, and we're gonna have to do something big for that. So look for that huge episode.
Huge.
In a few months. It's gonna be huge.
Yes. I said we were talking right around probably Memorial Day time, so that could be insane.
Well, we'll be kicking around some ideas. We'll make that a special one.
Yeah.
I had a couple of thoughts on just episodes in general. I bounced it off of John, but yeah, you can add it to out, Chris. But one is guilty pleasures. I mean, I think everybody has one of those craft beers that everybody seems to hate, but for some reason you like. My personal one is probably the Rogue Voodoo Donut, one of those ones in the pink bottles. They had a peanut. They had like a graham cracker and strawberry one that I loved, and I know people hate that beer, but I'm sure there are some out there that Strawberry Shortcake is another one that I like that a lot of people hate. Another one, John. Have you guys done meat beers?
Meat. There's the Scrapple beer from Dogfish Head. There's the Pig's Brain one from Right Brain, and there's the Prairie Oyster one from Flying Dog. There's got to be other ones around.
I believe we reviewed the Scrapple beer. I think Pete was in on that, but I don't think we've actually dedicated an entire episode. I'm sure we haven't to animal parts or meat. That could be a good one, and I have to confess with the guilty pleasures. Steve and I were talking earlier. This really can't. I guess it technically could be classified as a beer, but for my walk of shame would be I love the Not Your Father's Mountain Ale, the Mountain Dew version of Not Your Father's root beer. I'm a big Diet Mountain Dew drinker, and I occasionally will pick up, maybe more than occasionally, pick up a six-pack of that Not Your Father's Mountain Ale. And when I'm watching the news with my wife, just I don't want to really blow it out or drink an Imperial Stout some night, so I just pick one of those up, and it's just like drinking a soda to me. So I'm busted on that one. And I also love Short's Melt My Brain, which is the one that's made with tonic water. It's like a weak gin and tonic, but that's a good summer beer.
Mine are the Leinenkugel's line of shandies. That's my secret shame.
You know what? I have to admit, on the golf course, I was at a Tigers game one time, and the options are limited and lets you make the walk to the one great craft beer stand. And I was with a buddy, and he's not a crafty, so he actually knew that I like craft beer, and he brought me a Leinenkugel's grapefruit shandy.
Sure.
And I have to admit, it actually went down pretty good, and I had like 2 or 3 of those big ones that day, and I was like, I could definitely drink that on the golf course. So I think you're onto something with that, Steve. We'll have to do an episode on all those, and it might be kind of a shameful one, maybe not one of the most fun episodes we do, but I think everybody will get a kick out of us confessing our sins.
The Rochester Mills blueberry pancake.
Oh yeah, that's another one of mine. I love it.
Bananas Foster.
I don't like the banana one, but I love that blueberry pancake. Everybody, it's like an artificial adjunct, but hey, bring it on. I love that one.
Hey, I like it too. You're not alone.
Greg, you're not getting off cheap here. You got to put something in here.
Put me on the spot here. I don't know. Really, any guilty pleasure beer? Oddly enough, with our episode today, that maple, I don't put a lot of maple syrup on my pancakes or my waffles, but I love it in my beer. So I guess maybe that's my guilty pleasure.
No, we're talking no Miller Lights that you like or anything on the golf course that you cheat on. That's the guilty pleasure.
Or Juicy Tree from Shorts.
All of those, yeah. I love Shorts in general. Anything they put out really is good. No, actually, I don't really drink a lot on the golf course. Maybe that's my unguilty pleasure. I don't know. I guess I'd have to really think about it if we do come up with an episode here. So
my problem is I drink a little too much on the golf course.
Well, different for Greg because he works on the golf course, so it'd probably be frowned upon if he was out there imbibing. The rest of us are probably making his job a lot more difficult by doing donuts in the cart after that 8th Imperial Stout. But
I'll remember that then.
All right, well, I think that about wraps it up for tonight. So there's a few ideas. Hey, and as long as we're talking about ideas for future shows, anybody that's listening, reach out to us, at Michigan Beer Guy on Twitter or at Beer Nuts Podcast on Twitter. We got it. Chris, you'll be proud of me. I actually finally downloaded Instagram to my phone, and the only account I have for Instagram is the Beer Nuts Podcast Instagram account. So I actually even took a picture tonight of one of our beers as a spoiler. So I'll start integrating Instagram in. But hey, send us ideas. We enjoy doing the show, and we want to give the people what they want. So if you have an idea for a good episode, even if it's embarrassing, send it on to us, and we'll consider doing it. We'll probably do it. So reach out to us. We're here for you.
Yeah, and you can, at Beer Nuts Podcast on Twitter, and email beernutspodcast@christophermedia.net. There's ways to reach out, as well as at Beer Nuts Podcast on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get a meme on Instagram of me sitting with a skeleton waiting for Chris to get those glasses, the logo ready for our Win This Glass.
I knew that was coming.
It'll be me sitting.
Touche, John, touche.
So one of these days you'll surprise us. Let's get on that, man. I want my glasses, man. I can get more Michigan Beer Guys, but I want to do Beer Nuts Podcast glasses for our listeners.
No, all right, I'm going to corner the graphic guy on Saturday.
Okay,
to do
enough
this.
Chop busting.
Yes, enough chop busting and more going to Mexico. How about that?
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. You'll listen to us next time, but for now, as they say in old Mexico City, AMF.
If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook by searching for Christopher Media. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Thank you in advance for supporting Christopher Media by clicking on the PayPal button and by clicking through to all the sponsors who support ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net, and thank you for listening. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Of all the streaming services out there, only one is different. Discovery Plus. It's the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet. 55,000 episodes of food, love, true crime, home, from networks like TLC, HGTV, and tons more. Yes! With stars like Chip and Jo, an exclusive new series from 90 Day Fiancé, all in one place. Bam! Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
A different future starts with you. That's why GoDaddy does more than help you find a name. You can create, sell, and get found online, so any small business can drive change or build an empire. We need a new generation of thinking. Your way of thinking. Start different at GoDaddy.com.